have an emotional body, we have a physical body, we've got an emotional body, we've got a mental body, we've got other bodies too. We've got a lot of bodies. Okay, there's different realms, there's different planes, there's different dimensions that all these bodies operate on. And when you get much into astral travel, you recognize that in order to travel in the etheric plane, you need to use your etheric body. So the different types of bodies what happen is they tend to get tangled up with one another and with the physical body. And when that tangling happens, there is no free flow of energy either. So what we need to be able to learn how to do is allow our different bodies to function at their own levels. So in the aura, what happens is your emotional body shows up in the aura as an emotional aura. Your mental body shows up in the aura as a mental aura. Your physical body, the physical radiation from your body, shows up in your aura. So there's which is mostly what the Carillion photography is, to be absolutely honest. The Carillion photography is mostly the physical aura. It's the heat from your body. But there are many, many other very subtle auras that go on and can be very large. It can be like 9 feet around your body. But that's a very healthy aura. But in order to get that healthy aura, we have to disentangle these bodies from one another. When you can do that, what happens is your body is an electromagnetic field. So you're able to project, but you're also able to draw. So you hear about the most magnetic part of your body is your emotional body. It's a very magnetic part of your body. Yeah. So everybody talks about the mental world, but the mental world is not just your ability to visualize, it's your ability to feel. And so what you're visualizing is what you're putting out, but what you're feeling is what you're drawing in. So if you're feeling a negative emotion, you're very attractive to those things. If you're not feeling any emotion, then you're not really drawing anything. If you're feeling positive emotion, you're drawing so-called positive things. And so we want a lot of emotion, but we want free-flowing emotion. And we want that emotion to be able to be linked to, like Eli says, a desire. And if your emotional body is linked to your desire body, that creates a much stronger pull magnetically, so that you're able to draw into you that which you want. And but the problem is that most of us go through life wondering what's happening to us, and we feel victimized. Yes, what did I do to deserve this, right? And then that happens, and that creates another emotion, which draws more of that, and it can be a real vicious cycle, very vicious cycle. And the only way to break that is by disentangling the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, the desire body, all of that stuff. The only way to do that is through metaphysical, occult, craft-oriented meditation. And it's really the only way to do it. You have to be able to focus your mind, you have to be able to feel your emotions, and you have to be able to do it within the context of deep relaxation. Because now, if you think about it, if you think about what happens when your brain is operating like this, you are at like a gamma level, right? But what we have to do is we have to get into a deep enough trance that we're at that twilight state. But also your greatest magic is in that twilight state between waking and sleeping. The problem is people tend to get there like this, and then they drop into unconsciousness, or they'll come out of sleep in the morning and they'll be there for a second, and then they wake up and they've got to go do things. And that's where a lot of people would call magic self-hypnosis. But I think it's bigger than self-hypnosis, because I do think that we do program our unconscious mind. I think that that is part of it. I think that it is part of it. But we also recognize that there is a huge spectrum of forces available to us in order to operate in. Now, when you're dealing with what we're talking about tonight is the magnetic part of your personality, the magnetic part of your aura, that emotional body, it's very important that we get the mental shield down as low as possible before you drop off to sleep, which is that twilight state. In order to be, what you'll do is if you're feeling emotion in your body while that mental shield is really down, regardless of whether it's negative or positive, if you are 100% aware of that emotion, it will always transform into something more positive, because that observation of the emotion tends to cause flow. Yes, it causes flow, and flow is what you want. Then what you're able to do is superimpose with your mental body on top of that a visual image of that which you want to draw to you, and you can pull it in. If you get good enough at doing this by practicing, then you get to a point where you start to live life by, oh yeah, wait a minute, all I have to do is I have to just do magic, right? Yeah, go ahead.
So that's morning hours.
Or evening, but no, it doesn't have to be any of that. I'm just saying that's naturally when we feel the twilight. But when we're doing our deep meditation with the mental shield down, you can get there anytime you want. Yeah, anytime you want. You want to get to as deep of a level before you fall off into unconsciousness, so that you have much more power in the realm of this electromagnetic universe that you live in. So what happens is then you're starting to live your life at an energy level. Because what happens is you're able to, so the money thing, just say the money thing. Instead of going, oh, I'm stressed about money, then you're able to say, wait a minute, what do I want? What do I want? Even if it's down to, let's not make it huge. Let's make it, what do we need for this month? What do we need for this week? What do I need for today? Okay, so then all I have to do is lower my mental shield, get in touch with the emotion. The emotional body I recognize as my magnetic force field. Superimpose a mental image onto that magnetic force field of that which I want to draw into me, and pull it in. And then you keep doing that. If you can do that for long enough, you'll feel a little click. You either get bored with it, you feel a click where you just know it's done and you don't need to do it anymore. You have a sense of certainty that it's going to happen and that you don't need to do it anymore. You don't have to maintain it for long periods of time, just long enough to get that click. And then usually it only takes that one time, and you can go on to the next thing. But then what happens is coming back out of that trance, coming back into the so-called mundane world. Your job is not to let your bodies get all tangled up again, because you don't want to negate the very work that you just did. Every time you start worrying about money, just say, oh, wait a minute, it's on its way. It's happening. It's done. I took care of that. I forgot. It's just like saying, oh my gosh, I better wash my hands before I eat. Oh yeah, I already did that. I don't have to worry about that. I just did that, so I'm going to go eat. You don't have to worry about, did I wash my hands? Yes, you did. So the same thing with the money. You don't have to worry, is the money coming? Well, of course the money's coming. Here, you just did it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So then what happens is, instead of worrying about, how am I going to make this, what am I going to do about this, what am I going to do about that? No, wait a minute. I have to just pull it in. I have to pull it to me.
I need a list of all the things I want. I have no money, but I need this and I need that. And where do I need this? And
yeah, it can be. Now here's where it gets really interesting. You can do all of what we just said and be very successful, but you can kick it up huge notches. And the way you do that is you find out what the seed of that desire is. You need to find out what the germ is in that desire. Why do you want the money? If it's because you want food, that's fine. You want food. That's really what you want. You don't want the money, you want the food. Chances are the money will come to buy the food. The chances are, because it's easier. The path of least resistance usually is where things come to you. You never know how it's going to happen. However, sometimes somebody might just show up with food. You know, I mean, you may not be able to, you may not need to buy groceries for a month. Who knows? Maybe the reason why you want money is because you want to launch a new project. Well, why do you want to launch the new project? Because it's your heart's desire. Well, what is that going to give you? What is that going to do for you? That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be doing your spell work, is on that stuff, is on the germ of the desire, the seed of the desire, right? So then the money will come, because usually money is a really cool exchange. I mean, it's like, if you say you do accounting, and you went onto the public transportation, you said, I don't have any money, but I can do your accounting. The bus driver may or may not need your accounting, right? So you'd have to wait to get onto a bus where the driver needs an accountant, right? Whereas if you had the money, it wouldn't matter. Because this means your accounting, this means his fare, everybody's happy, they get to use it, they get to turn it into whatever they want. It's magic. Money is total magic. It's just energy. It can become anything you want it to be, as long as it's available within the realm of commerce. So usually money is the way it comes, so you don't have to worry that you won't have money, because money is usually the way it happens. Money is just an easiest possible way for it to come. But to focus on the money is not usually where the desire is. The desire is what the money will bring you. Maybe you want more money because you want to work less hours. So what you want is more free time. What do you want the free time for? Well, you want to do this, you want to do that. Well, focus on those things. That's what you can draw into you. Is there a limit to how many spells you can do a day? No, absolutely not.
Not at all.
No, once you get good at it, it only takes a second. And you can use props if that's easy. Now, here's another thing that you might want to consider. When you're doing all of this stuff, sometimes it's really hard to hold a vision that's really complex about your desire. So what you can do is you can condense that into a symbol that's really easy. So just, maybe it's a little Jupiter symbol for you. Maybe it's something real personal to you. Maybe it's a bird. Maybe it's a money symbol. Who knows what it is? As long as it really represents that which is your desire, focus on that symbol and draw that symbol. Pull the symbol into as long as you can get emotional about that symbol and you know what it represents, that's all it takes, because the emotion is where the magnet is, right? The electrical part of it is the mind, the magnetic part is the emotion. It's really like the mind is the masculine side of things, and the emotion is the feminine side of things. And they have to work hand in hand. You've got to be able to program the emotion to pull that which into what you want. Otherwise, you're just going to get whatever happens to be in your subconscious mind at that time. Okay? So now, what we're dealing with here is a really powerful process that everybody already knows about. I'm not talking about anything that you've never heard about before, maybe in a new way, right? Just to give you some more excitement about doing it. But then what you've got to deal with is the fact that there's a part of you, a major part of you that you don't know. There's a part of you that's called a habit system, a habit pattern, okay? And that's a very good thing. You got to have that, because it enables your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe. It enables all of the body functions, but it also enables you to keep all of the memories so that you know what words mean and all of that stuff. It also has a higher function in that it is able to keep your reality at status quo so that you can function within this world. It kind of keeps you sane. So once your mental shield is back up, that is what's in control. You're not in control anymore. But don't fool yourself. You are not in control of your life. Your habitual mind is in control of your life once that mental shield is back up. So what we have to deal with is that there may be parts of that Eli calls false beliefs that are actually at odds with the thing that you're trying to pull into you. And that's why sometimes we do really great magic and we either get results and then they go away, or we get weird results, or the results, we can't hang on to them. That's because of the false beliefs. So what we can do is we can also use the process, the same process of deep relaxation, of deep meditation with the mental shield down, to bring up and address those belief systems so that they aren't any longer at odds with our desires. So for instance, say that you became habituated to the idea that you're just not very attractive and people don't like you, and that may have come because of something that happened a long, long time ago. Maybe it happened in your childhood. Maybe you people made fun of you, or maybe your mother made fun of you, or maybe it was just a really offhanded comment that somehow stuck. Who knows where that came from? But somehow you came along with this belief system that you're not attractive and that nobody likes you very much. Well, there's several ways that you can discover, because you may not even be aware that you have that belief. Because it's just like, you're just like you're not aware of your own body odor. It's just you're so used to it. So what happens is, there's several ways that you can find out whether that's true. One is through meditation. It's just by asking yourself, what belief do I have that might be at odds with my spell that I'm casting? And let it come up, and see what it is. Another way that can be can be interesting, and sometimes even more accurate, because you're not in a trance state, so you're not, you're a little bit more awake and aware and able to be analytical about it, is by asking yourself. Because usually when you're doing, and I'm not off on a tangent, I promise. Usually when you're doing a spell, it's because you're trying to heal something, right? It's because you're trying to create something in place of something else, right? Okay, so the reason why you're not doing what you really want to do is because you're doing something else, right? Well, you could ask yourself, what kinds of beliefs would a person have to have in order to have this kind of situation in their lives? And then start brainstorming. So let's say your thing is that you're trying to pull in your perfect mate, but the reason why you're doing that is because you can't ever get a date. Well, ask yourself, what kind of beliefs would a person have to never be able to have a date? And just let it come to you. And just start writing down. And sometimes it's just weird. It's stuff that you would have never known. You're ugly and people don't like you. What? But you'll notice that you'll be like, oh my God, I really do I really believe that. So then what you have to do is you have to be able to handle that belief. This is so important. This is like almost more important than the magic of pulling in what you want. Because a lot of times if you take care of this, you don't have to work so hard at pulling stuff in that you want. It's just more like ordering off a menu. I'll have this today. I'll have that today. So what happens is you hear a lot of people, especially these days with the law of attraction and all this new age stuff, about changing your beliefs. And we've been talking about this for centuries. And it's great that they're catching up, and I love it. And science is catching up, and psychology is catching up with us, and they're not even scratching the surface about what we're doing. But what needs to happen is if you start fighting with your belief is already stronger than you. Mm-hmm. It's already going to win. It's there. It's strong. It's the strongest muscle in your system, is your belief system. You cannot budge that thing by fighting with it. It will make it stronger, I guarantee you. What you can do is this. You can love it. You can love it. Recognize that it's part of you, and it's just as lovable as any other part of you, and start to look at it. Then, once you've done this thing where you've discovered a belief that you need to, then you go into that meditation again, and you say, I'm going to make this belief come to me as an entity. What does it look like? What kind of voice does it have? What kind of body does it? Is it a humanoid body? Is it a wall? What is it? And just let it come up however it comes up, right? And then ask it to have a voice. Ask it to have a voice. It's not going to hurt you. It's just the same thing that's been with you this whole week. It's not like anything that's ever going to hurt you because you've been dealing with it for all this time anyway. But ask it, what are you trying to do for me? How are you trying to help me? People don't get it. It's trying to help you. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to help you. It just doesn't know any better. It's trying to help you. Well, the belief, just listen to it. What are you trying to do for me? Well, for instance, this belief, well, your mother told you that you were ugly, and I'm just trying to be nice to your mother. I'm trying to make sure that you and your mom have a good relationship because I don't want you to be at odds with your mother. Well, then you say, well, thank you for that. This is what I want. I want to have a relationship. So how could you possibly try to give me the same wonderful relationship with my mother in a new way that is more in line with this new vision? How could you do that? And would you be willing to do that? Okay? It will want to do that because it'll get excited, right? And then what you do is you start sending it love and light. You start just sending it whatever color light seems appropriate. Maybe pink light if it's a love spell that you're trying to do, right? And this is a good waning moon part of things, right? Because you're dealing with getting rid of things. But it's not banishing, be gone, thou profane, evil demon. It's transforming something, right? It's transforming something. So this is the waning moon aspect of your spell. And then the magnetizing part of it will be the waxing moon part of it. So as you're sending it this light, notice how it's changing. How is it changing? Now, if you're working with a mental teacher or a spirit guide, it's very, very helpful to ask them to come in and help you with this. In fact, have your spirit guide take a form and have it work directly with this thing while you sit back and watch. How does it transform it?
Have a visualization.
Right? Yeah. Then and just keep coming back and forth with that until it becomes something beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Beautiful energy. And then ask it its name. What's your name? It'll tell you its name. I remember I was working on something once, and I don't remember what the thing was, but it was Jennifer. Was this little thing's name. Well, after that, anytime I was having an issue with this problem, I would say, Jennifer, can you please help me? And it was all of a sudden it was a thought form that used to be a belief that would hinder it. But when I needed help in this particular project, I would just call in Jennifer, and Jennifer would come and help me with this thing. Because Jennifer and I are now allies. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's then what you can do is say, now this is a new belief that I have, and Jennifer or whoever your new thought form is, permanent thought form within your team of thought forms. It's a good idea to write these things down because you can forget to keep track. Will then be the guardian of that new belief. Isn't that interesting?
It has a name.
Yeah. And you don't give it the name, you ask the name. And you ask what it looks like. You ask all of this stuff. Don't impose anything on these beliefs. Ask the beliefs what they are. Because if you already knew and you were that smart, you would have already had it taken care of a long time ago. So this kind of alchemical working really works well when you're working hand in hand with the spell casting part of things, because then you're working things at two very, very complementary levels. You are working at the level of the belief that caused the problem in the first place, and you're working at the level of the electromagnetic energy that is able to draw what you want into your life. Now, once the belief is taken care of, especially if it covers a broad range of topics, right? So say you've got this money thought form, and his name is whatever. Henry. Okay. You and Henry can go in and have many consultations to deal with it. And you can even see if Henry, I always ask Henry, what's going on? Well, then there might be more beliefs that need to be transformed, and Henry will take care of that with you, right? But once you and Henry are okay, then a lot of times you just have to do the spell. Okay, this month I need to get 10% more than I did last month. So that's what we're drawing in. And 10% more in income, is a hard thing to visualize. So you might want to make a symbol of that, because it's easier to program a symbol than it is to visualize something that's more abstract like that. But again, why do I want 10%? Well, because there's some things that I need in my business, let's say, or in my house. We want to do this or we want to do that. And then and why do we want that? Well, because things will be more beautiful or things will be more efficient. So you want to keep going and finding out what you want, even when you're doing the drawing in part of things, so that you're not stuck at, I want 10%. Well, 10% may not be enough energy, emotional energy. What you want the money for and why you want the things to buy that money for, what the core of that belief is, the new belief that you're trying to pull, the new desire, not belief, the new desire, the core of that desire that you're trying to pull in, that will create more emotional energy, and more emotional energy will create more power, which make you more magnetic, and then magnetism will make the thing happen better. Okay, now the other thing too is let's talk about form. We get really, really, really bogged down with form, okay? It's fine to want a very particular thing. It's fine. However, when you can let go of that once you've done it and say, whatever shows up, I can't wait to see how it comes, you always get something better than your form. It is always better. It may not seem better at the time. You may be like, really? Is this it? But then when you look at it sometimes in retrospect, you're like, geez, I'm so glad I got this. Right? So rather than that old sorcery thing, my whole sorcery versus alchemy, I have this, I've got to have this, I've got to have this, then you'll probably get this if you're good at magic, but it won't necessarily make you happy. And that's what we want, is for everybody to be happy. Right? Because the more happy we are, the more we can grow. So, what you can do about the form thing is, well, I recommend taking an experimental approach to these things. Just committing to doing a lot of magic over the next 3 or 4 months. Just a lot of it. Just a lot of magic. Practical magic. Major changes that you want to make. But break them down into small things. Don't overwhelm yourself. Okay, so if you want more money, how much money do I want just for today, or for this week, or this month? And why do I want it? Because maybe you need to pay off some bills. Well, why do you want to pay off those bills? Because that's not a good enough emotion. Why do you want to pay off those bills? Because it makes me feel free. What does freedom feel like? Well, freedom feels like this. Well, that's what you need to feel in your meditation. You need to create that feeling of what you want. You got to create the feeling of what you want while you're visualizing it. You can't just arbitrarily say, well, because I will feel free. Well, what does free feel like? And is freedom a strong enough emotion? How about joyful? How about ecstatic? How would that feel? Okay, because of this. So try some experiments, and one would be, okay, I'm going to try an experiment where I do a spell where I'm pulling in a very, very specific thing. Even though I'm going to let go of the form, I'm going to pull in a specific thing. See how it shows up. Then do a spell for your next spell. Say, I'm going to completely do something more abstract and symbolic. I'm going to use a symbol. And see how that turns out for you. And keep trying different ways so that you start to see what works best for you. You know what I'm saying? Try different times of day. Try different, different times of day. Try different incenses. Try different things. Try a purely mental approach. Then try a very mystical approach. Yeah. Try a lot of ritual sometime, and then try no ritual, or try a circle, and try one without a circle, so that you can really. And then you got to really take note of it, and then see how it manifests. See how it manifests, and it will manifest. But you've got to be able to be creative enough to notice when something has changed in your life, because sometimes it's so different than what you thought you wanted that you're not able to see that it actually manifested in a way that was better. But what will always happen is the issue for which you were doing the magic has been healed, has been at least been addressed. The biggest thing that I can recommend to you when you're starting to work magic, especially since you're going to commit to doing so much of it, is baby steps. Get really excited about the little things. Really, really get emotional about, I'm gonna get a new towel. I'm gonna get a new set of towels. And I want it to be soft, and I want it to be this color. And why do I want it? Because I just love new towels, and I can't wait to take a new bath, and it's going to make me feel so good. And that's that's just the way it is. And so you're going to do a new set of towels. Well, I guarantee you something weird is going to happen, and you're going to just somebody's going to bump into you and just say, "Did you see that amazing sale they're having over at Macy's? Everything is 30% off." And they have these great Egyptian towels. And you're like, interesting. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you've got somebody at work that's really bothering you. Maybe there's somebody at work that's just really, or a neighbor that's just really annoying you. So you're gonna, you're petty tyrant. So you're gonna work on that. So instead of doing a spell to have them leave, or to, to hex them, that's always an option. But what you can do is just say, well, what do I really want? Well, I want peace with this person. Well, what is that going to feel like? Well, peace is going to feel, because sometimes peace is sort of a dull emotion. Well, what does peace really feel like? What's it going to feel like when you and this person are not at odds with each other? They may leave. You never know. The relationship may heal. Who knows? That's the experimental part of it. I can't wait to see how this resolves itself. But I guarantee you, once you do that spell, they're not going to bother you so much anymore, because that whole situation is on its way out. Either they're going to get a better job, you're going to get a better job, you're going to understand each other more, you're going to move to a different part of the office. Something's going to happen. It's taken care of, right? Maybe you're going to do some baking, and you decide that you want to make a new recipe. Well, you could do magic before you do that. And you could just say, well, the reason why I want to do this is because I want to learn this new recipe, but I want these cookies to have something special in them, something extra occult, really magical, so that everybody that eats them has a feeling of love and blessing. It's not manipulative. It's no more manipulative than everybody that eats this has a taste of clove, whatever. It's just the flavor that you want to put in them. So, and then see what happens when people eat those cookies. It's legal. It's not like you put pot in them without telling them. It's you put love in them, or you put magic in them, right? So there's all kinds of wonderful things that we can do. And it's not always, I want money spell. I want my money spell. I want the perfect mate. Yeah. It's those things are fine, but there's so many facets to them that you can explore. Because we're here on this earth as a spiral of perfection. We go from life to life to life to life to life, so that we can grow and we can become better. Well, what better way of speeding up your perfection than doing a spell to get what you want, rather than banging your head against the wall? I mean, it's so much more fun. And you know what's so funny is the amount of times you forget that that's an option. It's so hilarious. How many times I'll be going, I can't, how do I fix this? And I'm like, duh, I forgot. I could have done a spell.
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading, there's so many of these books too, and there's a really wonderful book that was talking about magic and spells and everything. It was talking about money magic. And it said, make sure you only do money spells for exactly what you need and no more. And I'm like, why? Why in the world would you want to do that? What's wrong with having a spell for a surplus? How about if you wanted a spell for a lot of savings? What about a spell for a multi-platform investment plan? What about a spell for another piece of real estate while the market's so low? Why isn't that okay? Who says? And it harm none is what the Wiccans say. So who's that harming? Now, granted, doing money spells out of greed is not the same thing as doing the money spell that we're talking about, because greed doesn't feel fun. You can't get that magnetic feeling like you can with joy. Well, joy isn't greed. I feel funny talking about this, but I did a spell before we went to Vegas. I had so much fun. I didn't do a spell to win a jackpot. I didn't think about that. I probably should have done that. But I just wanted to win a lot of money. Well, you know how it manifested? I won so much money that I kept playing on the same $100, but I kept doing points. I kept putting my card in the thing so you get more points. Yeah. So I raked up all these points, and I went into my slot host, and I said, and I did. I'd do $1,600 here, and I'd have $700 there. It was up and down and up and down. I was having so much fun. And usually, if I win a big jackpot, I bank it. But I was just having fun. And so I was about probably a couple $100 up on what I went in and what I went in with. And I went into the slot house and I said, I have been having so much fun. Can you tell me how many points I've gotten? And she said how many it was. And I said, well, how much money have I gambled? Well, because I know I'd only put a couple $100 in there. She said, $11,000. $11,000 is how much money I had gambled. Yeah. No, I never won an $11,000 jackpot, so there was no way to bring home $11,000. But I generated $11,000 in Vegas. Can you believe that? And just having fun. There was nothing but fun. As soon as it wasn't fun, I stopped.
Well, that was how it manifested.
That was exactly how
it was fun.
Your goal.
I did. I just want to have fun in Vegas, and I want to win a lot of money. I didn't say I want to take home a lot of money, and I didn't even and I didn't, and I'm not upset that I didn't, because I had so much fun. And I'm not going to the Bellagio and paying for my room next time.
No.
Are you kidding? Those comps are great.
That's awesome.
Oh, and that's the other thing. We were on comps, so we had this huge suite at the Bellagio, okay?
Awesome.
And food and everything, all told, our bill, because we charged everything to the room, was $30 for 3 nights. $30. So I generated $11,000 in gambling, and then with the suite, this was the Bellagio suite, so this is the second level suite. So that was probably another at least $5,000 worth of comps. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, $16,000.
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's the kind of, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That was magic that's fun, not like, but if I had said, oh my God, I got to go to Vegas to make my rent money, that would not have worked out so well.
And you would have
different beliefs, different emotions,
Yes.
different things. The goal would have been written differently.
Totally, and I would not have been in that joyful spell.
That's right.
Yeah, that joyful spell would not have happened.
No. You would be there working.
Yeah. And I even mentioned
That's
that.
how magic works.
I even mentioned that. I'm like, I was with some friends, and I said, okay, we got to go into the casino. We got to go to work. We got to go to our job. We got to go hit the slots.
That's awesome. You mentioned those little old ladies that play one slot machine. We're too happy with you.
Well, it was funny because people kept going like, God, you are so lucky. And I'm like, I know. Isn't that great?
Awesome.
Anyway, we got off on a tangent. So any questions about the magical process that we've been discussing tonight?
Actually, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's really interesting because pretty much I have a lot of emotion, and it's been my friend as well as my not friend.
Well, yeah, join the club. Yeah.
So I'm very effervescent and all that, and so what I do in the morning is I put up a shield that is translucent.
Good.
So things can come out. things can come in.
Yeah.
So, but during my meditation, when I do my relaxation exercise, you're saying to lower. Okay.
And the mental shield is, I'll tell you what it is. It's a mental construct that's held in place by tension.
Oh, we already talked about it.
Okay, that's the mental shield. So when you're when you are in a deep meditation, if you think about the mental shield as being different levels of brainwave activity,
right?
The faster the brainwave activity, the more tension is in your aura. Not that that's bad,
right?
Because you need the mental shield up. But in order to do magic, your brainwaves need to slow down. And Eli called that having your mental shield down. And the mental shield being down just means a deep sense of relaxation. The deeper you can go without falling asleep, the better.
Okay. Yeah,
So think of it. You can think of it in terms of brainwave activity, if that's easier.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been doing, And so when I do my relaxation in the evening and things, I make sure everything is lower as I go lower in my relaxation, getting into the wave patterns.
Good. You having any good results?
I have actually.
Good for you.
I just float through my day.
Good, good. So it's really a good idea especially when you're having a good time in your life, is to just check in, even when you're not having a good time in your life, it's a good idea to check in on what your goals are.
And that's really interesting because right now I have a major goal.
Good.
And one of the things, there's a lot of issues behind this goal, and I'm like beating my head against it. And so one of the things is I'm trying to attack it from a spiritual aspect, emotional aspect, and a physical aspect.
Right. So you may want to attack it, quote, quote, from a magical aspect and then just drop it.
Okay.
That tends to work better.
Okay.
Attack is also just
So and the other thing too is if it's a big goal, you may want to break it down into its component parts. So that you can, because a lot of times big goals are very intimidating to us, and big goals oftentimes don't get done.
Well, that's just the thing. I mean, I have a target long-term goal for March. And
March of next year?
March of next year. And
okay, so a time limit, is it necessary for the time limit?
Oh, not really.
Okay, so the time limit also adds a lot of tension.
Okay.
So I would recommend getting rid of the time limit unless it's like rent's due or something like that.
Oh, no,
okay, so my recommendation is getting rid of the time limit, taking some time and seeing see if you can find out what the seed of the goal.
That's the seed, yeah.
Okay, find the seed of what the real desire is, why you want this thing, what the desire is, and see how many ways that you can break it up. So that what you want to be able to do is, what can I do right now, today, that is living this goal? So when you get done with your spell, let's say, that you can go into your waking reality and actually do something that has to do with this spell. And so when you're this is another thing you can do, is when you're in your deep meditation, when you're doing your spell, is you ask your spirit guide, ask your higher self, ask your higher mind, ask the thought form, if you're working with the beliefs, that thought form, that entity, ask, what is something that I can do right now, today, that will bring me closer to my goal? And it can be it's usually a very little thing. It could be something like write a half a page, or it could be write an affirmation and put it by your phone. It could be get a DBA for your new business. It could be whatever it is. It could be clean your office. You never know what it is. What is one thing that I can do right now that is going to be bringing me closer to my goal, and do it in meditation. Try not to do it in your waking consciousness, because then your forebrain is going to tell you you need to do this and you need to do that.
That's the thing. I get so into my visualization that I'm like, okay, this is going to happen.
Okay, so that's not magical.
No.
That's not magical. That is magic as sorcery, and we want magic as alchemy.
Got it.
Magic as alchemy states that it's fun and easy. So it's relaxed, it's fun, it's easy, it's joyful, and it's good. It's good for you.
Right.
It's good medicine. It's good magic. You know, good medicine, bad medicine is something that they say in the American Indian, right?
Right.
We say good magic and bad magic. We don't say black magic and white magic. Good magic, bad magic. Good is anything that leads you towards your goal. Bad is anything that takes you away from your goal. That's bad.
Okay.
So what's good is finding out why you want that thing. And there's a belief within you that is creating tension so that you won't get the goal.
What I'm going to have to do now is to do some intensive journaling.
Well, and do that process that we were talking about too, where you
Exactly.
find the entity, because we're going into the waning moon, and this is the perfect time for you to do that. Right after the full moon is to go in and do that very meditation that we talked about tonight, where you actually find like you said, after you find the belief, that you find the belief, and then or ask for the belief to be shown to you, however you want to do it, and then go into meditation and ask the belief to reveal itself as a being, or as any kind of form. Give it a voice. Allow it to have a voice. Tell you what it's trying to do for you. It's trying to do something really good for you.
And the voice has been there. I just haven't been hearing it. It's been. I mean, I feel something knocking.
Now, but the voice that you're going to hear in this meditation is not the same as the nagging voice that's beating you up right now.
Okay.
It's very different.
All right.
Yeah, it's completely different. The nagging voice is connected to that belief, but it's what your high brainwave activity is doing with it.
Well,
And everybody's got that. You're not unique.
it's the Capricorn in me.
Well, it's the human in you.
Field is down and your vibrations are low. That's when the voice is going to come and help you. The
It's
hanging
your
one.
false beliefs that are holding you back.
Yeah, and you're in the biggest club in the world, you know, and this is where I'm very happy for the law of attraction, because it's showing people that it's possible for them to do magic, even though they don't call it that.
Right.
But what is unfortunate is it's not giving anybody any training or the full training in this stuff to do any deep lasting work. And so a lot of people are going to the law of attraction and then saying, oh, this shit doesn't work. And then they're very disenchanted. Whereas if they were able to, you know, recognize that there's an older way of working this stuff that does work. In the law of attraction is nothing new. But you know, the law of attraction is just a little teeny law that is part of a bigger, many laws. It's one of the subsets of the Hermetic principles, you know. And yes, it's true that, what's that?
You mentioned 3 or 4 tonight.
Yeah. And so when you're you know, the law of cause and effect, which is a Hermetic principle, the cause is the mental world. That's the cause.
Right.
But part of the mental world is the feminine side of the mental world, which is your emotional self. Yeah, it's not just your ability to visualize.
Yeah.
Like, for example, today when I was finding out about the toilets and the overflow problem and situation, I was at work and I decided to just relax. And I'm sitting there relaxing, and all of a sudden I had this oversense of smell of incense come to me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what is this? And I'm like sitting there, and I could swear it was all around me. And I was just letting it just sit there and take me away. And I felt so relaxed. And after a while, my roommate called me and said, hey, everything's under control. And I said, hey, by any chance, did you light any incense? She goes, yeah, I did. I said, did you light? And we said the same name at the same time.
Yeah.
And
so you were right on their
I was
wavelength.
right on the same wavelength that she was, because for some reason she was taking care of that problem over there, and I was meditating over here, and I felt like I was just, and she was actually, it was almost like the feeling was flowing.
Took care of itself.
Yes, exactly. And I let it just take care of itself.
Right.
And I just went with it, and I felt so much better.
Well, the emotional body is your magic magnet.
Yes.
And have you ever drawn a magnet through the sand?
Yes.
And it just pulls the iron up to itself, right? That's what your emotional body does. It just goes through life pulling that which it's programmed to bring you. So if we're not programming our emotional body to bring us what we want, it'll just bring us by default what we believe. What we believe. So it's very powerful. And that's why one of the best things you can do is look at your life and say, wow, look how powerful I am. I created all this. Right? And acknowledge yourself. Look at my powerful magnet. Regardless of the fact that you think that you like it or don't like it, look at what I've done. And a lot of it's good, a lot of it's not. Who cares? It's how powerful you are. Yeah, it's how powerful you are. And if you created that, you can create anything. And that's the good thing about magic as alchemy, is if you pull in something that you don't like, you can create something else. You can uncreate it. Because you're not bound by form. You can change that form. You knew what the essence was. Go back in your notebook and say, oh, that's why. It's just like with the Vegas thing. That's why I got what I got, as I just said I want to win a lot of money. And I did. So it's not, so you can change it. It's where people get into big trouble with magic is when they start to do spells that are for specific things, that involve specific people, or when they do spells for people, on people. That's hard to reverse. Because once you it's like Sybil Leek said once, that magic is like jumping off a cliff. Once you've cast that spell, there's no falling back. There's no coming back. So you better know that you meant to do what you meant to do. So that's why we don't recommend that you dabble in stuff that you can't, that you might want to undo, right? But this kind of stuff, we want you to do a lot of it. It's healthy. It's like the difference between eating good food and not good food, and really bad food, but like poisonous drugs, it's like the difference between eating organic fruit and doing crystal methadone. So crystal meth, but that's what a lot of the dark arts really are, is they're thrilling, but they're addictive and they're very destructive. So, but what we're doing is not. What we're doing is more like organic fruits and vegetables. We're in it for the long haul, and we're in it for the lifetimes of perfection, so that we can. I was just talking. Somebody was interviewing me for another podcast, because they're doing an interview on it. You should listen to it. They're just coming back. It's called the Wicked Podcast. The Wicked Podcast is they're very, very nice people. They were talking about this stuff. And I forgot what were we just talking about?
Crystal meth and oranges.
Yeah, but we were talking. You should listen. It's a great podcast. Yeah, they're just coming back. They were gone for like 5 years. Anyway, any other questions?
You should post that on our group site.
I will. I will.
What is the if someone wanted to listen to your podcast?
Oh, they can go to iTunes and type in just go into the search and type in Druidic, and it'll probably come right up with Ariel's Druidic Craft of the Wise. If you go to any one of the podcasts that I have, if you click on the name Ariel, it'll pull up my artist page. And there's the DCW podcast lectures. There's a witch's primer. They can take the whole primer online, which is a very updated version of the primer. It's much better than the old one.
Oh.
It's much better than the old one.
Can that be printed?
No, it's just audio. It's all audio.
Okay.
So you just taking class. You got to go take a class. There's meditations on there. There's a meditation podcast. There's a new podcast that I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with, called Witchcraft Beyond the Basics. And then there's some music. There's a music podcast.
Yay. Especially during work, I'll put my earphones in and I will
Listen to the chants and stuff. Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Well,
I think we have a lot.
There's a lot to deal with, huh?
There's a lot to
Yes.
do until we meet again. Yes.
Okay, well, let's just take a moment and take a few breaths and just quickly acknowledge ourselves for all of the work that we do for ourselves and for the craft and for the good of all of the world. And we are very grateful to each other and to our Mother Goddess and our Father God and to all of our spirit guides and the teachers that have come before us. Thank you very much. Together we all say blessed be.
Blessed be.
And thank you.